Hello everybody, Brian Cusco here at Triple B. Today I'm going to be going over all the different enclosures that I keep my snakes in, from the fish tank terrariums to the Freedom Breeder racks. You're watching Triple B TV. Alright, so first let's talk about what I call the fish tank style terrariums. They're not technically fish tanks, you can't actually put water in them and keep fish, but I call them fish tanks because they look like fish tanks. And I actually don't even use these anymore because they're kind of tough to keep snakes in. They have to do a lot of things to them to get them right for a snake, and I'll go over a few of those things. One would be to block off 3 of the sides so the snake feels more secure, which is one of the major goals when keeping snakes, is to make them feel secure. And if it's open on all sides, I just don't think it's ideal for the snake. They feel too exposed. Even if you have clutter inside, I think it's still a good idea to block off at least 3 sides of it with whatever you have, some black construction paper, anything like that. Then another challenge with those tanks is keeping the humidity inside. Since they have a screen top, usually you have to end up blocking off up to 3/4 or more of the top to keep the humidity inside. And then also maintaining ambient temps. Sometimes you need a ceramic heater overhead. Unless you have them all inside a snake room that you keep at a certain temperature, that's not as big a deal. And then usually an under tank heater to give them a hot spot. And I think these tanks can look great for display animals. You know, if you have 1 or 2 animals, like I said, these tanks could be okay. But since I'm kind of beyond that, I've kind of retired them. They're sitting there. Maybe I'll use them for something at some point, but as for right now, they're just kind of hanging out, taking up space.
Today we'd like to know, what are the local laws about keeping snakes where you live? We'd really like some feedback on this, so please leave your answer in a comment down below.
The next enclosures I'd like to talk about are my temporary tubs. They're basically Tupperware tubs or Sterilite tubs. I want to say they're like an 18-quart tub, just something I got from Target. And I drilled holes in the top on one side to give some ventilation. And then I put a UTH, a ZoomEd UTH underneath to maintain the temperature. So as I said, they're temporary tubs, so a snake will only spend around 3 months in one of those tubs until they get done with quarantine, and then they'll come move into one of these racks or into another enclosure. The next enclosure I'd like to talk about is my boa file. I got a 4x2 boa file here, made the way a snake cage should be, blocked off on all sides with the exception of the front, open so you can still display the snake nicely, but the snake feels nice and secure because everything's blocked off on all sides. They don't feel like they need to hide from all angles. And it's got these nice little latching locks. It's got a nice little drop down plexiglass door. And I've got a huge piece of heat tape under there on half the enclosure. The next enclosure I'd like to talk about would be the Serpentine Obsessions enclosure. I actually did a little video on these earlier. It's a very well built enclosure. It's a beautiful thing, and it's got a little divider in the middle so you can keep 2 snakes in it, or you can just keep 1 snake in it. When you're cleaning one side, you can block them off from one side, clean that side, take it out, let it move over to the other side, put it back in, close it out, however you want to do it. And the locking mechanisms are very smooth, and it's a beautiful enclosure. I love the way the venting is on it. Everything about it is pretty spot on. And I look forward to getting some more of these enclosures someday.
It's time for slow mo Sunday.
Alright, so this next enclosure here is one that I made myself. And unfortunately I made this before I started my YouTube channel, so I don't have a video of me actually making it. But I'm kind of proud of it because I think it came out beautifully. I made it out of plywood, cut it, sawed it, sanded it, finished it, sanded it, finished it. Got it until the inside of the enclosure was as smooth as glass, and really spent some time on it, sealing it up, and made a little custom block in the front that I pieced together from 2 pieces of 1x2 and glued them together, sanded it down, cut it, ran it through the table saw, and got a nice little slope so that any urates or anything like that kind of slides back into the tub instead of coming out and getting all into the track for the glass. The glass I had custom cut at a glass shop here. It's tempered glass. There was a lot of work, and the cost was almost the same as if I had just bought one. So it was almost the same cost plus a ton of work, but it came out pretty good. And I used the radiant heat panel in the top of that, and it's just a beautiful enclosure, and I'd love to make more of them sometime. It is a bit heavy, but you always have a little bit of pride, I think, with something that you create yourself, and especially if it comes out pretty nice like I think this one did. All right, now let's talk about the racks a little bit. I've got 3 different rack systems right now. I've got one more coming. I was hoping it would be here in time for this video, but it's not here yet. But when it does get here, I'll talk a little bit about it. It'll be sitting right here. So I've got one from Reptile Basics and one also from Chris Chappell at Herptastic Reptiles. And they're both similar in construction. They're both use expanded PVC. They hold up to moisture really well, and they're basically waterproof, which is nice. And it's got the little tubs in there that slide in and out. Got some recessed heat tape down on the back to keep all the tubs nice and warm on the one side. And then of course we got the Cadillac of reptile racks here, in my opinion, is these Freedom Breeder racks made of stainless steel, and they hold up in all kinds of weather. I mean, they're basically a lifetime. These racks will most likely outlast me. And another nice thing about them being metal like that is if you have some kind of issue with your heat tape and something starts a little fire in the heat tape, these racks aren't going anywhere. Like I said, they will outlast me. They're definitely a little bulky and hard to move around, but once you get them in place, can't beat them. All right, guys, well, I think that's it for today. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And if you like these videos, please subscribe. We're getting up above 800 members now. 800 subscribers. And man, I'm really enjoying it. I really appreciate all the support, and I love you guys. I'm sorry if that's weird. We're just gonna have to deal with it. All right, guys, I will see you next week. Take care.